In 1977, in the center of Buenos Aires, a small handful of mothers began to gather. Not a mass at first, two by two, hands linked, circling the Piramide in Plaza de Mayo. The act looked like a walk. It wasn't. It was a testimony performed in public, in the skin of the city. The white scarf they ran around their heads would become a kind of map of absence, of accusation, of a long, patient witness. This is a story of disappearance and of insistence. It is a story of mothers who refuse the erasure their country tried to impose. It is also, crucially, a story told through objects, battered photographs, cardboard pancartas that held eyes and birthdays, and school photographs, testimonies recorded in oral archives, the dry inventory of a nation's memory. These artifacts are not footnotes, they are arguments. If you listen to the oral histories kept in the Archivo Nacional de la Memoria, you will hear ordinary timelines break, the voices bend where a name is missing, the cadence changes where someone says despacito. The A&M's Historias de Vida project gathers those inflections, lives reconstructed from scraps, from letters, from photos, and gives them back to the public record. Those testimonies insist that absence be named. The photographs are a kind of counter-evidence. In the inventory of the A&M and Memory Abierta, you can find images of the rounds, of vigils, of police lines, photographs taken by people who recorded the country as it broke. Memory Abierta curates pages and documents of images tied to the Madres, a living scrapbook that ties personal histories to public claims. Look at these images long enough and you will feel two things: the presence of absence and the visible labor of the women who refused to stop looking. The movement was both maternal and fiercely political. The contradiction is part of what made the mothers impossible to dismiss. As Margaret Buchanti claims, maternal memory is not a sentimental fallback. It is a political strategy, an embodied claim to knowledge and to moral authority that contests the state's official narratives. The mothers grafted private grief onto the public square and thereby reshaped the politics of memory in Argentina. To understand what the mothers were against, we have to understand the language the regime used: euphemisms, bureaucratic silences, the lexicon of disappearance. Marguerite Fellowitz's work on the rhetoric of terror shows us how the language of the state both hid atrocity and normalized it, turning suffering into administrative categories. The mothers confronted that language with another: names, faces, birthdays. They made that human detail stubborn and public. There's a photograph in the A&M catalog, a circle of women taken during one of the earliest rounds. It's composed like a ledger, a line of bodies, blank sky, and a single banner. You can read the photograph as evidence, sure, but you can also read it as a ritual. The repeated motion of the circle, a conviction enacted daily, weekly, yearly. You will find a photograph like this across Argos donated collections, and the photo series rescued from newspapers like Tiempo Argentino, images that archivists and reporters preserved because to lose them would be to lose memory. The movement changed as Argentina changed. After democracy returned, the mothers split into different organizations. That split is not just organizational drama, it reveals the deeper stakes of memory at work: how to pursue justice, how to narrate grief, and how to distribute voice. Documents of Memory Abierta show the internal debates, letters, statements, the formation of the Linea Fundadora that transformed private protest into sustained civic institution. The split made more plurals out of what seemed like one story and forced the country to hold more than one kind of truth. The other archival detail that matters, the pancartas. In the 1990s, the mothers began producing large placards that reconstructed the personal histories of the disappeared: school photos, job records, letters, patient notes, everything the state had tried to obliterate. These cardboard banners became mobile memories. They reasserted identity against the regime's project of depersonalization. You can see reproductions and inventories of these pancartas in A&M, and in the documentation Memory Abierta preserves. These objects were testimonies in a visual key. There's an urgency in these materials that resist nostalgia. This is not a museum of sorrow. It's an argument with the present. The testimonies in the A&M are alive within patients. The mothers cannot be reduced to icons. They are litigators, archivists, litigants, and mother politicians. They became the mechanism by which private grief entered the civic ledger and changed it. When you read the oral history transcripts, you are allowed to be close to the human scale of atrocity. That closeness is the mother's legacy, an insistence that history be not only known, but seen. These were women that stepped into a political sphere that had not been designed for them. The presence in the plaza was not only an act of grief, but a transformation of who could speak in public and what counted as a political language. By carrying photographs, naming the disappeared, and walking in the space the regime tried to empty of meaning, they turned maternal memory into a form of civic authority. This legacy that threads through the photographs and testimonies, the mothers confront the dictatorship that sought to erase not only people, but the evidence and memory of these people. Their answer was public memory. Their march built a counter-archive in real time, refusing to silence the regime depended on. Their insistence forced Argentina to reckon with its own acts. Ordinary women turned a public square into a living archive and challenged the authority by not letting the disappeared disappear. For archival notes and further reading, I'll include the links in the episode notes from Memoria Abierta's dossiers to the Archivo Nacional de la Memoria's audiovisual guides, to Argra's collection is now cataloged at the A&M and the scholarship of Fellowitz and Berchanti that helped shape this podcast.